But the next season, Lester Hayes, one of the great corners of all time there. So some good love there. Brandon Aiyuk, will he not report? All eyes on him. It sounds like he's not going to report to camp. We need him in camp. But I get why he wouldn't want to play on a $14 million. He wants to get paid after everybody else got paid. But here's Jeff Darlington, ESPN, on whether or not it makes sense for the Niners to trade Aiyuk right now.
Aiyuk has requested a trade. Do you think there's any sense that San Francisco ultimately honors that?
No, I don't. I don't see a world where San Francisco sends him off, especially at this point when they're entering into a year when they believe they have a championship caliber roster. I know that sounds like maybe a point you'd make if you're the team when it comes to negotiating and leverage with a wide receiver or a team that might be interested in him. But quite frankly, it really doesn't make any sense for the team at this point to ship off Brandon Aiyuk. We'll see how that unfolds. Should Aiyuk hold out of training camp for an extended period or at all?
Mike Tannenbaum, remember the former GM of the New York Jets? He's been fired everywhere he's gone. He also one day said that, hey, I'll take Justin Herbert over Patrick Mahomes. I've watched him with my own two eyes. It's like, wow, okay. The whole damn panel took Justin Herbert over Patrick Mahomes. I forgot who was on panel, but Mike Tannenbaum was one of them.
Because as a thrower of the football,
I mean, I was
that
just
guy
like,
said
wow.
it too.
And that still doesn't make sense as a thrower of the football because Mahomes is better at throwing it than Herbert.
Mahomes made a throw at practice the other day that I've watched, I think, like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And to me, just watch Chris Jones's reaction. It's the whole thing.
Oh yeah, they're going to be playing for big stakes this year. That's for sure. They'll be back in the AFC Championship.
I'm so upset.
Here's Mike Tannenbaum. Should the Niners be patient with Brandon Aiyuk?
Yeah, I think what's most instructive of what we saw Jalen Ramsey do when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars that led to that big trade with the Rams, which is we don't have holdouts anymore, Green. We have hold-ins, meaning Brandon Aiyuk shows up every day and he doesn't practice. And I know RC spoke to Brandon Aiyuk on his podcast, The Pivot, and that's really going to be the determining factor here, which is does he have the stubbornness really to sit there every day and not practice? It's really hard to do. At some point, your teammates you're sitting there. We have a chance to win a championship in a very meaningful way. They're going to want you to play. And can he sit there day in and day out and force John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's hand? So right now, we don't know. But I will say this. The 49ers just have to try to really be more patient than whatever Brandon Aiyuk's stubbornness is.
What? Okay, so if I were to rank desperation of you have to have this player back to be functional, Bosa last year, Aiyuk this year, which one was more dire for the team in terms of getting the player on the field?
This one seems more dire.
Why?
Because he's your wide receiver and they're not budging. It felt like, here's what I was thinking about on the way in.
Okay.
I'm trying to recap what happened last August, right, with Nick Bosa. Obviously, he wasn't at practice. But one thing I don't think was discussed a lot, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of what he accomplished already as a defensive player of the year, as a rookie of the year, and what he represents as an edge rusher. He is one of the best edge rushers in football. But I didn't hear anybody say, hey, Nick Bosa, play on your salary. Whatever his salary was last year, I didn't hear anybody say anything about Bosa playing on his salary, whatever he was making last year. What it was, I don't even remember the numbers for his last year to deal. Nobody said, this year, everybody's saying, well, I just played on the 14. Play the $14 million and we'll wait till after the season to pay you.
Yeah.
Just play on your $14 million.
They're not the same player.
They're not the same player. But that's what I'm saying. But how? That's not fair, though.
It's not
Nobody said anything about Bosa not playing on this deal.
Because Nick Bosa, since day one, has been all pro level every year he's been healthy. And the 1 year that he wasn't healthy, obviously he didn't play well. And he has been crowned as one of the best players by his peers and by those who do the evaluations to be a significantly better player from day one all the way through than Aiyuk. Aiyuk had a great year. Bosa's had multiple great seasons and has been amazing since day one.
Last year was not a great season for Nick Bosa. I can make the argument that Brandon Aiyuk had a more had a more impactful season for the 49ers last year than Nick Bosa did.
But then my argument to you would be Bosa's down year is better than the like subpar seasons from Aiyuk in terms of comparing his best year to his other ones. Like his worst is still better than whatever Ayuk's low level is.
Aiyuk had back-to-back 1,000-yard receivers and these 1,000-yard seasons, and he's gotten better and better and better.
But 1,000
and hold on, I know you were going to say
54 yards.
Yeah, but so what though? Not when you have three different quarterbacks. He got over 1,000 yards playing with Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy. So now all of a sudden you don't have that chemistry with the quarterback. You don't have a rapport with the quarterback. You're practicing with different dudes. Look at Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. He's playing with Nick Mullins, Joshua Dobbs. Ask him how his season went. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's not easy.
But this is also about supply and demand, and it's also about positional value.
I hear that.
Everyone in the league values DNs and pass rushers in general over wide receivers. Everyone also recognizes there are way more wide receivers in the NFL that are good, and there are way more college wide receivers in the draft every year than there are pass rushers. So there's a variety of reasons why Bosa was viewed completely different than Aiyuk.
I'm not even saying that Aiyuk's better than Bosa. I don't want people to get my words twisted. I'm saying, in my opinion, Aiyuk was more impactful than Bosa in 2023. Has Bosa had the better career so far? Absolutely. But also, not one person I heard say, oh, Bosa, you got to play on your contract. You got to do this. You got to do that. Where it feels like everybody's helping on telling Aiyuk what to do when he's thinking to himself, well, wait a minute. I've played nice. I've been a good soldier. I battled out of the doghouse. I listened yesterday, and I didn't push back yesterday because it was fascinating to hear from you and a lot of people. Well, Aiyuk's been the best player in training camp the last 3 years.
Yeah, but that's not the
that's not the end-all be-all. That's not the end-all be-all. But he's been one of the best players in training camp, cooking everybody, showing up from day one, practicing hard, despite not having to report quarterbacks, right? Despite that. Then he goes out there and he does his job every single play. Those 70-yard runs that McCaffrey breaks off, those are 7-yard runs if a wide receiver is not blocking. Well, guess what? Aiyuk is blocking his ass off. He gets his face dirty. He doesn't complain. He's physical. He's one of your most consistent wide receivers on this football team. He's an every down player. So for him to say, you know what, I'm not going to play on $14 million. I need to get my money. Everybody else around here has gotten my money. Why am I getting the short end of the stick? I'm the most polished wide receiver, the most polished route runner. I get my nose dirty. I do what Shanahan says. I run over the middle of the field. I go deep for this team. I do what I got to do to make this team better. And I just, by the way, damn near racked up 1,400 yards on a team that is dead last in pass attempts.
Not everyone is treated the same. So like Nick Bosa, he can do things that other guys can't. It's the same way that Charvarius Ward right now wants an extension. Should he play on the final year of his contract? Should he hold out?
You should.
Well,
if I was him.
I think all Niner fans are saying, no, you should play on your final year of your deal.
If I was him. But everybody's at the same time, the same argument you use about Bosa and Aiyuk not being Bosa, Charvarius Ward ain't Brandon Aiyuk. Deommodore Lenoir ain't Brandon Aiyuk.
Well, on this team, Charvarius, you could probably make an argument he might be more important for them for this year, just a singular year, because secondary is so hard to find. It's just is not that he's a better overall football player, but there's a supply and demand thing.
Like Niners have drafted well at DBs, and if you got a good pass rush, you're going to negate some of that stuff.
Aiyuk isn't the only one. Like so Bosa, no one said that because Bosa's elite. He's excellent at what he does. Well, Aaron Banks.
Hold on. You know what? Hold on. Let's. Bosa had a down year.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. The expectations are high for him.
Yeah.
They got Bosa all the help he needed. He complained about the D coordinator. He complained about the slow start. He complained about not getting help. They brought in his college buddy. They brought in Randy Gregory, and it still wasn't good enough. So can Bosa carry a defensive line by himself? I need to see that this season.
He has for 5 years.
No, he hasn't. He didn't last year.
Okay,
he didn't
he won Defensive Player of the Year.
He didn't year before. He was quiet. NFC Championship game against the LA Rams, quiet in the fourth quarter. When it was money time, quiet. Where was he at? Right, let's be real about it. I love Bosa, but let's be real about that. Bosa didn't show up in that fourth quarter.
Where was Aiyuk?
Jimmy Garoppolo stored the balls in the dirt. Well, that's where Aiyuk was.
I think we're in a weird comparative shopping thing when it's just they're not equal. They're just not. I'll use an example. Trent Williams played on the final year of a contract. Remember, he hit free agency. Trent Williams. So Niner fans told Trent Williams, dog, play on that final year.
Did Trent Williams get quote-unquote generational money before then? This is Aiyuk's one time to go get paid. This is one time to go get paid. Trent Williams already got paid by Washington. He had money in the bank.
Not everyone has the luxury of being able to hold out and have 30 teams in the league willing to not only trade draft picks for you, but also give you $100 million. There's just to compare Bosa to Aiyuk is foolish.
I'm not comparing. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. See, you're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm not comparing Bosa and Aiyuk. What I'm saying is, when Bosa was holding out, nobody said a peep about him playing on this contract. And then he comes out there and dogs it and has a down year after getting the richest contract in defensive player history. And in the last game of the season, we all look at the optics and we look at the way the season went out. That was a down year from Nick Bosa. You got all that damn money, $120 million plus, and you came in like that, making all the excuses in the world, and you didn't play hard at times? Hey, let me take that back. Played hard, but he was not impactful whatsoever, to the point where Baldy goes, he just looks robotic. His bull rushes, where's the speed packages? Where's it at? So when it comes to Aiyuk, it is one time to get paid. It's one time to get paid. He may never. He's
already a first-round pick. He got paid. He's
Bosa was a first-round pick.
$15 million, he will make $26 million. So
Bosa was a first-round pick.
Got paid, like that's
Bosa was a first-round pick.
Oh, I know.
Why didn't he play on this money
since day one?
Why didn't he play on this money?
Because 30 teams in the league were going to give him $100 million, and we're going to trade picks for him. Right now, there are 5 teams we think who would trade for Brandon Aiyuk and pay him. Right, so there's a difference between this. Again, this is very simple. It's about position. It's about impact since day one. It's about supply and demand, and also it's about the 49ers' finances. When they were looking at this long term, they clearly carved out huge money for Nick Bosa. And then they said, like, we would like to pay Brandon Aiyuk, but because we paid some of these other guys, it's gonna take a year.
Well, I think we're undervaluing. Again, I think we undervalue Brandon Aiyuk. And you kind of make my point about being underrated. Brandon Aiyuk is becoming underrated in this market. And he's becoming underrated on his football team. Because, we don't throw the ball a lot. But those running plays, and we do pay for run blockers, obviously. George Kittle stays in and block. And I'm seeing a lot of texts saying, when is Brandon Aiyuk double teamed? Oh, he gets doubled. He gets doubled. Believe that. Go watch the film. He gets doubled. And if you don't double him, he's going to cook your ass like he did all last season. That's who he is. That's who he is. So this whole thing about Brandon Aiyuk not getting paid, and we'll trade him then. Let's see how good this team is without Brandon Aiyuk.
No, I just think this is pretty simple. It's like, look, not every single player has the luxury to kind of command and do whatever they want, right? And so, like, certain quarterbacks right now, Jordan Love, I'm not going to practice, right? Quarterback's very important. Very important. I think if the fullback does this, let's just say hypothetically, Kyle Juszczyk does it, they're probably like, I mean, come on, give me a break. Like,
Brandon Aiyuk's not important?
No,
his importance on this team?
He is, but
he's very important. He's one of your 10 best football players. One of your 10 best football players.
Everybody thinks he's important.
On the 53-man roster, he's one of your 10 best football players.
But he's also one of 8 guys that is in the final year of a contract that wants to get paid.
So he should be priority number 1.
Yeah, but if you do it to him, then now you're doing it to Charvarius Ward.
No, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it to You don't have to do it with them right now. They don't deal. There's a pecking order here. This is a homegrown talent who's a first-round pick, who was one of your most important players on offense and one of your 10 best players on the football team. He's priority number 1. They know that. Deommodore Lenoir, Charvarius Ward, they know where they fall in line.
I think this is pretty straightforward. They've offered him probably $26 or $27 million per year approximately.
We don't know
probably
that.
a certain, okay, but it feels like they're in the ballpark, and they're saying, hey, you have one of 2 options. You take this particular money, which is close to generational money, depending on how his algorithm works, and you stay here and we try to win a Super Bowl. Or if that doesn't suffice, we're not trading you. You're going to play on your 5th-year option, and we'll figure it out from there. I don't think it's that egregious on the Niners' behalf. They can only afford so much.
They can. Well, they better afford this guy, or not this passing game that we saw really stumble in the Super Bowl, may stumble even more in 2024. So Brandon Aiyuk, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? What is he going to do?
I think they're going to figure something out. I don't see him going anywhere. I think this is pretty clear. The Niners are like, you're not getting traded. We're not trading you. We are not
show up to camp?
trying to win a Super Bowl this year. without having Brandon Aiyuk on the roster. I think this will get resolved one way or the other.
In what way?
I don't know. Either he plays on the fifth-year option, or he comes down on his asking price, and they come to some sort of an agreement. I don't think they want to get rid of him.
I know they don't want to.
I think they really like him.
I think they like him too.
I also think this is just kind of part of the negotiations when your salary cap is really tough.
I think they like him too. But now all of a sudden, if you do make him play, if he does come back, and he comes back safe, he pulls the Bosa, and he doesn't come all of August, and he misses training camp. Now you got a guy who, again, goes into another year where he doesn't have the offseason chemistry with Brock Purdy. You don't practice. You come in a week before the first game of the season, if not. Now all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball. You got to get into football shape.
Yeah.
And now you get a guy who, if his numbers aren't looking good the first month of the season, now he got locker room issues. Now you got issues in the locker room where it's like,
he needs to be a professional.
He will be a professional, but at the same time, it's going to be like, I didn't get my money, now I'm out to get mine. Now you got a situation here, and that could be a problem. So this situation, one thing that has to happen is they got to win. Because if they don't win and they stumble and Aiyuk doesn't have his money, this season could blow up in their face.
It could blow up in their face even if they pay everyone and everybody's playing kumbaya, because that's the NFL. Things happen. You fall off a cliff, people get hurt, you get cluster injuries at one position, and the next thing you know, you got a fifth-string DB out there trying to guard a number one, or you got an entire offensive line that's patchwork and Purdy's running for his life. Like, there's a variety of things that could go wrong on this team, even if they pay everyone and keep them together. I think at the end of the day, the Niners smartly have viewed this where it's like, all right, we only have so much money because we've locked ourselves into certain contracts, which made sense in real time.
But other guys are going to come off the books next season. There will be players who's coming off the books. You may get a Kittle who comes off the books. You may get a Debo who comes off the books. You may get a Trent Williams who comes off the books. We don't know. Javon Hargrave may come off the books. It's not like everybody's going to be back next season.
Javon's got like a $26 million dead cap hit.
No doubt he does. No doubt he does.
It's not looking good.
It's not looking good. It's a terrible contract.
It's bad money that really negatively impacts Brandon Aiyuk's situation, and I don't think anyone is up here caping up for Javon Hargrave as a great signing. But it made sense in real time because they had a hole at D tackle.
Bad